From Washington, D.C., I'm Blake Newman.
And I'm Brie Ripley.
This is the Agile Podcast, where we explore the stories and people behind Agile web solutions. So, Brie, what do you think of when I say the word Agile?
I think of the sport agility that some pet owners like to do with their impressively athletic dogs. Like, I'm picturing an incredibly cute corgi running with all of their might through a tunnel and then sprinting across a catwalk with ease. Besides that, I know it's become a kind of buzzword, not just in software, but in all aspects of business nowadays.
Yeah, when I think of animals, I guess I think of kittens or leopards. But yeah, I mean, I see Agile used everywhere. I hear it in commercials, I read it on websites, I even read about it on Harvard Business Review. Titles including The Agile Enterprise, The Agile C-Suite, and even Leading Agile by Being Agile. It's definitely a new buzzword.
Like blockchain.
Yeah, or digital transformation.
Or even, if you please, agile transformation.
Yeah. Well, the world is just changing so much, so quickly, that being agile is becoming very important for everybody, especially now.
According to the Economic Policy Institute, the official U.S. unemployment rate was 13.3% in May. However, if you consider not just the 21 million officially unemployed, but all 32.5 million workers who are either officially unemployed or otherwise out of work, that jumps to a whopping 19.7%. And that's nearly 1 in 5 workers.
Those are some disturbing numbers.
Truly.
So, Ivanka Trump recently announced a campaign for out-of-work Americans called Find Something New. Now, whether you're a fan of hers or not, I think she makes an important point. So, professionals need to have an agile mindset. They need to be able to pivot and reinvent themselves, perhaps multiple times over the course of their career.
So many businesses have shut down in my Seattle neighborhood, like restaurants, coffee shops, clothing stores, gyms, yoga studios. Even newspapers and hospitals in my region have furloughed or laid off a significant number of workers.
But we're here to talk more about Agile as a project management methodology. And when I hear companies talk about Agile, everybody seems to have their own interpretation of what it means.
They really do. I'm a digital strategist by profession, and I've worked as such for nonprofits, corporations, and state agencies. Each sector, in my experience, has their own definition for what Agile means. And the most memorable of which was iterated to me when I was working for a major Seattle corporation, and they defined Agile as being positive, upbeat, and willing to do whatever last-minute project was passed on to the communications team from the director's office.
I've worked in those types of organizations as well. Well, to me, Agile means three things. One is that we don't know the future, so we need to be flexible. Two is that we'll never have enough money or time to do everything we want, so we have to prioritize. And three is that we won't always get it right the first time, so we need to constantly make improvements and adjustments. Agile is about embracing change, being flexible, focusing on priorities, and continually improving based on everything that is changing in our world.
And I know Agile is big for you.
Well, yeah, we named our company after Agile. We're a very lean and agile enterprise. We named the company Agilina. But we weren't always Agilina. We pivoted in this direction a few years back.
Wait, rewind. What was the company originally called, and why did you pivot?
Well, back in the day, we're based in Southern California, not far from Venice Beach, working with a lot of startups. We were helping to incubate and accelerate these startups. So incubation sounded like the right brand at the time. But one mistake I did make is that I spelled incubation with a Q, which I thought was clever at the time, but it kind of backfired on me because people kept misspelling my email addresses.
I wonder how many emails you did not get. Maybe it's better left unknown.
I know. Number one rule of branding is to make it easy to spell, and I failed at that.
So what happened? How did you get from incubation to Agilina?
Well, my wife got pregnant and wanted to move out of the U.S. and back home to Colombia to have the baby. So we packed up the house, put everything in a shipping container, and moved to South America. This was around 2007, right before the financial crisis. So when the economy crashed and venture capital dried up, the startups went away. I had to pivot. Money dried up quickly, and I needed to be lean and agile.
Wow, 2007 looked pretty different for me, but maybe not that much different. I mean, I was a freshman in high school, and my dad was laid off from his tech job. And I was young, and my parents tried really hard to protect me from their disappointment and depression. But I knew something was up when my mom was cutting way more coupons than usual, and my dad spent way more hours than usual at the public airfield flying hobby airplanes he made out of styrofoam to go boxes.
Wow. So that's how he killed time between looking for jobs. So I'm sorry to hear about that. So he had to be agile. Did he bounce back and recover? How did he handle it?
Yep, he pivoted, he applied the qualities of being agile and started his own company.
Ah, good for him. So, well, in my case, I couldn't afford to pay California wages while living on Colombian pesos. I needed different kinds of clients, and I need to find local talent. I found this well connected guy named Luis who knew other developers and designers in Colombia.
You kind of had this idea of building small websites for actors and small businesses for the United States.
That's Luis, employee number one at Agilina, who's pretty much my co founder.
Over wine, we kind of planned the original business model. I feel that we had a lot of expectations. I felt I was very young and very naive. So we kind of assume a lot of stuff. But that's how we started, no? Like we basically over wine with great ideas.
Many magical things can happen over wine with great ideas.
Yeah, that's how my wife got pregnant. But anyway, so we're getting traction, we're growing, we're hiring, and then we get this really big contract. Very complex, high pressure, short timelines, and it was grueling. There were nights when Luis and I would work through the night, and I'd just fall asleep under my desk around 4 or 5 a.m. But Luis kept working. The next morning, we had a client stand up at 8, there'd be another one at noon, another one at 6 p.m., another one at 9, and then one at midnight. The client kept telling us that this was agile, but actually,
That was not agile at all. We were working a lot of hours, and that's not part of the methodology.
and it wasn't agile for one reason: priorities, or lack thereof.
At that time, they were trying to please the customer with anything that the customer was asking to do. They were not priorities. They were just, doing whatever they were told to do, and we were just told to do this, to do that.
Now, I know Agile's about embracing change, but this was chaos. We were spending a huge amount of time on things that simply didn't add value, and we were just playing whack a mole with changes and special effects.
Focusing on what is more important is one of the hardest things that you can try to do when you're trying to be agile.
So here's an example. Luis was working on a design, and there was a sticky bar that just didn't work.
Something as simple as that. Sticky bar.
As a developer, you're left with this question: should I spend a week's worth of work fixing a sticky bar that people might not even use?
Or just put that in the backlog and finish what is really important, and then go back to that if there is enough money left.
Being agile makes life better for everybody on the team. People are less stressed, we're focused on what's important, and stakeholders are involved from the beginning so we can't stray from the purpose of the product. And when time and money does run out, we will have assured ourselves that whatever got done was considered the most important features at that moment in time.
So, Agile is setting clear priorities and ignoring the noise, focusing on what's important. That seems intuitive.
Well, it can be, but that's not always how contracts are written, especially firm fixed price contracts. If you are going to hold me to a budget or a contract, then I want to hold you to a set of requirements or scope of work. So we have to document everything up front.
Which means you're going to spend months writing and defining requirements. And then once requirements are frozen, you'll spend months designing the screens. And once the screens are approved, you will spend months developing the software. And finally, after a year or so, the product is ready to be tested.
Exactly. And in the meantime, the world has changed. Devices have changed, needs have changed, users have changed. So I end up delivering an obsolete product built for the needs of 2 to 3 years ago. And that is how software development used to be taught at the university.
When you go to computer science school, you are told to follow all these methodologies, waterfall and things like that. At least in 1990, 1995 when I started studying computer science.
That's Luis again.
Agile methodology is actually using common sense. In my opinion, this in this business, when you are selling websites, when you're selling web applications, you're actually selling concepts. You're selling something that doesn't exist. This business is really, really different from, say, selling a cell phone, or selling clothes.
Right. If you're building a new piece of software, you may not know all of the details up front. It might just be an idea or a good hunch.
And that's where Agile really, really thrives because you don't necessarily know everything at the beginning of the project. So, along with Agile is this concept called user centered design. It means allowing users to help define the product. In Scrum,
And quick aside, Scrum is an agile methodology where a team swarms over the same problem in short 2 to 3 week increments.
we write user stories and we define our definition of done from the user's perspective. I talked to Virginia, a project manager at Agilina, about involving users from the beginning.
For me, being agile is mainly about like frequently delivering something that works to your stakeholders. The sooner we get feedback from stakeholders, I mean, the sooner we understand the actual needs of the software, website, or application that we're creating.
Now, there's another concept called lean startup, which is also an agile derivative. With lean startup, we start with vaporware. We fake it until we make it. We build a prototype that is clickable, but nothing is really happening on the back end. We invite people to use it and watch how they use it. We listen to their feedback. Once we figured out user behavior, we actually build out the product and get users to test the beta along the way. One day, we just remove the word beta from the top of the website and it's official.
Blake, you love Agile. So how did you go from incubation to Agilina?
Well, that's another big part of being agile. We were open to change. Originally, incubation was about incubating and accelerating startups. But after I left California, and right before the financial meltdown of 2008, it was difficult to attract and serve those kinds of startups. Despite the economic downturn, we got traction, we grew really fast, and probably a little bit too fast.
We had a lot of small clients, and a lot of those small clients were just too small, and they were taking too much of our time that wasn't worth it.
That's Virginia again.
And some of them were not that great at paying our bills. So we made another change. We kind of got rid of some of those smaller clients and went for bigger projects.
We'd taken on too many clients and too many projects. We were dropping balls and something had to give. So we created something like Santa's nice list. We identified the types of clients we enjoyed working with, those with realistic budgets and deadlines, people who were friendly and understanding, clients who paid their bills on time. Then we created a naughty list, which was kind of like the opposite of the nice list. We kept the nice ones and we dropped the naughty ones. In fact, we got rid of 80% of our clients, kept only the big ones that paid well.
Whoa, were you nervous about cutting 80% of your clients?
Well, my team and my business partners were. In fact, Louise thought it was one of the craziest decisions I'd ever made in the business. But in hindsight, it turned out to be one of the best decisions I'd ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, because what happened was that we had fewer clients, less stress, less work. We had fewer employees. The revenue stayed the same. Salaries probably doubled. And everybody was just so much more relaxed and in control of what was going on.
Incredible. It was a risky move, but it paid off.
It did. And so then, when Obama was elected, we figured he would invest in government websites and web apps. I knew I needed to get as close as I could to the White House as possible. So I moved to Washington, D.C., and within 18 months, I was sitting in the executive office of the president with the White House CIO to design data.gov.
Oh my gosh, no big deal. You were just in the executive office of the president.
Well, it was definitely awesome. But it also goes to show that, like, if you can set a goal and if you could dream and if you could believe, you could probably achieve it.
Right. Manifestation.
Yes. Anyway, incubation was no longer relevant to government contracting. We weren't incubating startups, so I rebranded the company to Agilina, lean and agile.
So Agile isn't just about software development, or it doesn't necessarily have to be just about that. It can be about anything.
It can. Agile is a way to approach everything in business and in life. You see patterns, the world is changing, you have an epiphany, you sketch it out on a napkin, get some feedback, make iterative improvements, Focus on your priorities. That's Agile. Here's Virginia again.
As soon as you start seeing things in action, you notice that certain things don't work the way you thought they were going to work. So with Agile, one of the main things that you need to be flexible and you need to embrace change. Just embrace the change course, and just keep developing whatever actually is needed and not what you think was needed before.
But finding something new isn't always easy.
For sure. And that's exactly why we need to be agile, because the world is changing and we have to change with it.
So, Blake, as you know, today I'm a digital marketing officer for a global health research institute. But that wasn't always the case. When I left college, like 5 years ago, I really wanted to be a radio producer at public radio stations. But those jobs were really hard to come by. So eventually, I started looking for any jobs at public radio stations and found that they needed social media people. So I got a job doing just that. And it led me down a path towards digital marketing, which is where I am today. So when I became Agile, my career transformed.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations. Did you know you were being agile when you were being agile?
No, I didn't. But on this podcast, we're going to be looking at stories through an Agile lens.
We'll be talking mostly about software development, but agile can also be about work, relationship, careers, and just life in general.
So stay up to date by subscribing to the Agile podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
And please leave a review while you're at it. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Until next time.
The Agile podcast is produced by Agilina, a DC-based web development company. To learn more about Agilina, you can visit our website, agilina.com, or send us an email to results@agilina.com. That's AGILEANA.com.
And in the coda, we can talk about how nobody will ever miss that email.
Hopefully not.
Poor incubation.
I know. What was I thinking? I thought I was so clever.
Oh, to be young again.
Yeah.